most people who don't have wealth, they think they don't have wealth because they lack access to abundance. In America, you don't lack access to abundance. You may not have as much access as other people have, but you don't lack access. You have access. They think they lack access to abundance, but what they really lack is awareness of the access they have. Frederick Douglass was born a slave. He was born into slavery. And he had access to abundance because he worked in the big house. And his master's wife was teaching him and some other slave children how to read, and his master came in and caught her, and he flipped out. And one of the things he said was, you can't teach these slaves how to read, because if you teach slaves how to read, then they'll start to read books and they'll realize that the world is much bigger than the world they live in now, and they will never be content to be a slave again. He said, and whatever you do, don't ever let a slave read the Bible. Frederick Douglass, as a 6-year-old, he's like, the man who can sell me away from my mother and my mother away from me, who could kill me and not be prosecuted. If this man is that dead set against me learning how to read, it is the most important thing I must learn how to do. And so, Frederick Douglass would take leftovers, scraps from the big house. He would trade it to poor white children in the neighborhood in exchange for them teaching him how to decipher letters. And every time he found a piece of paper on the ground, he would take it back to his slave quarters and he would practice by candlelight reading in the middle, or moonlight in the middle of the night. He would be practicing his reading. Every time he found a book. And Frederick Douglass became such an eloquent orator. I was 21 years old when I read his autobiography. There were so many words in that autobiography called A Narrative in the Life of Frederick Douglass. I had to look up some of the words. Frederick Douglass was born a slave, bought his freedom, had it stolen from him twice, bought his freedom 3 times. Became such an eloquent orator that he gained an audience with the President of the United States and the Queen of England, and was instrumental in abolishing slavery in the United States of America. You say, why am I telling that story? Because he had less access than any one of us anybody watching this video right now. And yet and still, he was born into slavery and died a free man. It doesn't, I get it, life isn't fair. But if you're an adult and you're just learning that, you're at a disadvantage. My dad taught me that when I was in elementary school. Life ain't fair. Okay, great, life ain't fair. Now I know, I understand the arena. It ain't fair. Some people have greater advantages than you. You can run, I can't run. But every disadvantage has advantages, right? Can't run, so I learned how to fight. You might outrun me, but you ain't gonna outwhoop me. All right. You say, Myron, what's your point? You have to become aware of the abundance, the access to abundance that you already have, and then you have to act on that access to that abundance. Or you can go through life saying, well, I just don't have a chance because I get it. I already acknowledge the fact that it's not fair. And there are people in the world, there are people of different genders and people of different races and people of different whatever that have more advantages than you. And some people of the same race and the same gender have more advantages than you. I get that. Doesn't matter. They had the advantages that were necessary for them for their purpose, and the disadvantages that were necessary for them for their purpose. You have the advantages that are necessary for you for your purpose, and the disadvantages that are necessary for you for your purpose. And if you think that all disadvantages are bad, you are delusional. Because everything that feels bad ain't bad, and everything that feels good ain't good. And every hand up is not a good hand up. Why? Because sometimes for the purpose for which you were created, you had to grow up in a disadvantaged experience of life so you could develop strength in areas where you were currently weak, so that when you stepped into your purpose, you would be strong enough to stay there when you get there. Like, your problem is not the fact that your life is hard. Your problem is the fact that your life is hard, and you hate the fact that your life is hard, and you resist it instead of embracing it. Is that too tough? See, our problem is not that we have curses. Our problem is that we curse our curses and we lament our lamentations. And we take the things in our lives, our obstacles, and we make them bigger than us, when God already told us they're smaller than us. What if every time you had a challenge, instead of life ain't fair, life ain't fair, make it fair. I want the politicians to make it fair. I want God to make it fair. I want mommy and daddy to make it fair. It ain't fair. Really? That's what you think you desire? If somebody made it fair, you would never be able to fulfill your purpose. Stop hating on your hard stuff. Stop cursing your curses. What you resist persists. What you embrace becomes grace. And grace is a gift. What are you saying, Myron? I'm saying the fact that I've been walking with this brace on my leg and dragging my leg around for 63 years is a gift. It's a gift that when I was a child didn't feel like a gift. It felt like a curse. The fact that that when I was growing up I'm so blown away. Like people, okay, I want to say this in the right way. First of all, I'm going to say it like this. I'm a black man in America who was born in a segregated hospital, so discrimination has negatively impacted my life every day of my life since I came into this world for the most part. Okay? So I'm not minimizing the reality of discrimination and racism. I'm not minimizing it at all. I'm just saying it's not bigger than you.
Come on.
Unless you believe it is. But it's not even bigger than you then. It's just your belief that it's bigger than you. That's what's bigger than you. And the fact that when I was growing up, I had to work 4 times harder to get the same pay. It's not fair. Well, thank God it's not fair. Thank God that you have to be in an arena where you have to work harder to get the same thing. Because when you get in a level arena, you will outperform everybody else that didn't have the disadvantages that you had to develop the strengths that you've developed.